You may have noticed that originators of the methods demonstrated on these videotapes take as their primary goal students communicating in the target language. Many of these same methodologists emphasize the acquisition of linguistic structures or vocabulary. In the last method we will observe, the communicative approach, it is acknowledged that structures and vocabulary are important. However, adherents of the communicative approach feel that students must master the functions or purposes to which language is put before they will be able to truly use the language. Watch how this view of language influences the way the teacher designs the lesson. The communicative approach will be demonstrated by my colleague, Alex Silverman.
Anyway, today we're going to start a brand new unit. And this unit will be focusing on a new function, persuasion. How do you convince people to believe in your point of view? Okay, I think this will be a useful skill for you to have both in your academic work and as you function in the larger world in everyday life. And the topic that we'll be using to work on this art or skill of persuasion will be the best place to live. We're going to talk about different kinds of living situations. Okay? Now, it so happens that my family is facing an important decision on this topic, the best place to live. And I'll tell you the reason why. Like many American families, maybe some that you know, my family, we all started out together. I grew up in New York City, and of course everyone was together. And then, as the children grew up, we spread out all over the country. And now we live hundreds or thousands of miles from each other. Why do you think? Can you guess maybe why the children moved to different places?
Because
for work?
to study.
Studies.
To go to university.
They got married and they moved away? Yeah. Vacation? Yeah, well, my parents went on vacation to Florida once, and they liked it, and they decided to move there. Okay, so now the situation is this. My parents, Bill and Sarah, live in South Florida. I live in western Massachusetts in the country with beautiful hills and streams and fields all around. My brother Charlie moved to a big city, Philadelphia. How many people have been to Philadelphia? Just a few. Okay, it's not too far from Washington. And my sister went to Wisconsin, to Madison, which is a small city, for her studies. And she liked it, and she stayed there. Now, here is the problem. My parents are tired of living so far from the children. They would like to get back together, at least for a while, with one of the children. The question is, which place to go to? Since they love each of the children equally, their decision is going to be based on which is the best place to live. A big city, the country, or a small city or town, right? And we are having a family meeting, family council we call it, to make that decision. And you're going to decide which is the best place, as if you were my family. And I'll be very interested to see what your decision is. Okay? Now, we're going to do a little bit of work before the role play on the structure of persuasion. And to start that off, I'd like to talk with you a little bit about where you live and what you like about where you live. How many people here live in a big city, at home, in your own country? Most of you. How many live in what we would call a small city? Town. And how, just two or three. And how many live in the country? Just one in the country? Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about the big city then, since so many of you are from a big city. What are the reasons that you like living in a big city? What are some of the advantages that you find in big city life?
Better jobs.
Better jobs, okay?
Business activities.
After the students give all their reasons, the teacher gives an example of how one might make a case for living in a big city.
Finally, there's a wider variety of people that you can meet in a big city. Now, what I just did was structure my persuasion in a certain way that we like to do in English. And one term you can use for this structure is making a case. Okay, and if we look at this structure, it's what I just did. We open citing one reason, and we say something like to begin with or first of all, and then we strengthen or build the argument. We cite additional reasons, and we use some of these expressions to make a transition from one reason to another. Besides that, in addition, moreover, furthermore. And the third part of the argument, or making the case, is perhaps a summary of the main reason or a final reason, right? Now, who can, working with this structure, who can make a case for, let's say, South Florida? Many of you know about Florida. How many people have been to Florida yet? A few of you, but you've all heard of it. Who can make a case for living in Florida using that kind of a formula? Who can start off? Martha?
Well, okay, I should try to convince. Well, in short, I think that's the place convenient for you. It has a very good weather, too, all
Yes.
year round.
Absolutely.
You should go there.
I'm ready to go. Goodbye. Yes, who's going to teach you? Okay, well, that's very good. That's the idea. And that's the type of argument you can make in a written form, or when you're, for example, at a business meeting and you're trying to present your point of view, you might use this kind of structure. Okay? Now, we're going to go to the role play that I mentioned before, and you're each going to get a chance to practice making a case. Okay? Now, here is what we're going to do in the role play. First of all, you're going to divide into groups of 4, and you will each receive a card. On the card is your identity for the role play. Each of you will be one of the children, me, Alex, Charlie, who lives in Philadelphia, or my sister Lynn, who lives in Madison, a small city in Wisconsin. The fourth person in the group will be one of my parents, and it will say this on the card, Bill or Sarah. Here is how it's going to work. When you get the card, you will see information about your home, Madison or Philadelphia or Massachusetts. These will give you hints about how to make a case for your place. Okay? What you will do is first take a couple of minutes to study the card, see the information, think up additional reasons besides the ones on the card, for living in your place. Okay? You're free to ask me any questions you may have about any of these places, because I've been to all of them. I know them all pretty well. Okay? Then, once those 2 minutes are up and you've prepared your case, the family council will start. And what you will do is try to convince Bill or Sarah, the parents, that your place is best. So you make a case in front of Bill or Sarah about your place. And everyone else will listen. Okay? Follow the formula for making a case. Once